Hey everybody, it's Mary at Yard Art or Us. I hope you guys are doing okay today. It's Monday and it's Monday evening and I'm going to do some painting. Hopefully you guys will be joining me pretty quick like and maybe you'll even get inspired to paint something. It's almost, I guess it's a little bit after 7 o'clock and I just Windex this thing because, y'all, it's been out and I haven't, it's been a few days since I painted this, so I had to Windex it really good. And y'all let me know when you hop on, tell me hello. I'm gonna go over here and see if I can get this to see the comments. Here we go. There we go. Let's go this way. Lord have mercy, why is my thing not wanting to play? What's happening now, y'all? Let's see. Let's go here. Try to pull this up. Okay, I think I have it. I am going to do some painting tonight. Actually, and I'll be coming on a lot this week. She's actually gonna be doing the, I guess it's the haunted train, or is it the happy haunted train this week? Some kind of train she's doing. Hey Belinda, how are you? Hey Debbie. Debbie, if you don't mind, can you share this to the Academy and to the Painters Club for me? Hi Pam. I did a little bit of Windexing, y'all, because this has been sitting around the shop and it's been kind of gotten some dust and grime on it. And I'm going to put a little bit of water in here because I got a few things that need some water. Y'all know me, I'm always going to put water in stuff. And I'm going to paint the basket of apples today. And going to, I already base coated this, obviously. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm belching. Let me see if I can pull it up to where I can see comments. Let's go here because I want to be able to see. Debbie says, happy Monday. Belinda says, hi, Mary. Debbie says she shared it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, going to do some shading and some finishing the sign out and that sort of thing. This is, we have two of these. One of them is with pumpkins and one of them is with apples. I really debated, y'all. I mean, obviously pumpkins is, you know, your go-to thing for this time of year that's coming up. But I just kind of thought, you know, let's do some apples too. So we've got a basket of apples and this one actually has some lace on it. That's what I'm going to kind of focus a little bit on tonight, doing that lace, showing y'all how easy it is to do. If you kind of think about what, or what order you're doing it in is what I mean to say. What am I going to do first? What am I going to do second? So, y'all, when it comes to painting, it's taken me a long time, but I'm a very big believer in what step comes first, what step comes second, what step comes third. Now, that's not to say you couldn't always repaint something and make it work, but you don't necessarily set out saying, okay, I can roll it, I can repaint it. You know, the goal is to try to do it right the first time if you can. Now, there's something to be said for that, y'all, because believe me when I tell you, there's a lot of things I did not get right the first time. But, so I'm going to show you on this lace here in just a minute. This lace actually has a little rose and 2 green leaves here. But we're going to pretend like for a minute that it doesn't have that. Don't you like pretending? That's what I like to do too, y'all. I hope y'all are doing well. It's Monday evening. I've had a pretty good day, although yesterday, y'all, I was on the phone with Apple support for 2 hours. So you can imagine what kind of day that was like. Thank you, Debbie. She said she posted. This is one that we have in our templates. This is also one that we sell as a blank. Now, while we're on that subject, we have been doing some very serious discussion here about offering paper patterns. In other words, just like, you know, this, let's say you live out of town or you just want to cut your own blank and you don't want to spend money on buying the blank. If we do the paper pattern route, you could order the paper pattern. We would print it for you on like a big heavy butcher paper, 2 size with all these lines and everything. And then of course you transfer that paper. You transfer that pattern to your design. So we are looking at doing that simply because I think there's a number of you guys that are having a hard time making yard art because you're having to put it in like a block poster and enlarge it. And you can do that. That's absolutely a way to do it. There's absolutely, that's certainly a way to do it. But a lot of folks are complaining that they're having a hard time getting it large enough. So y'all let me know in the comments if that's a yay or a nay for you. Now, if you don't ever plan on cutting your own blanks, then obviously that's a nay. But if you do cut your own blanks, let me know if that's a yay or a nay. All right, so I've got my light blue. I've Windexed this. Obviously, I base coated it. I've Windexed this because it was sitting around my shop for a little while. And I've got my light blue. So, and when we look at this part, this is the part I'm going to work on right now. This is what I call like a cross hatch. You go one direction this way, right? And then you just come back and go the same direction that way. Now, when I look at this, I now see that I have a boo-boo, whatever you want to call it. I didn't base coat this, somebody else did, so that's what I get for not really checking, huh? Anyway, let me go fix this, y'all. I gotta fix this part, because this is supposed to be white. And we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen, y'all. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. All right. Okay, so let's try this again. Hi Pam, hi Bonnie and Susie, how are y'all doing? You love cutting your own blanks, Candace? Good deal. Now Candace, are you a fan of doing it through Blockposter, buying the digital template and then doing it through Blockposter, or would you be a fan of buying a paper pattern? Now on the paper pattern, it would just be a black and white line drawing. And then of course, maybe up here in the corner, we'd give you a photo, a colored photo of how we do it. So it would be like, think of it as a black and white line drawing, and you would have to have a transfer paper. Usually it's a graphite paper that people use. So y'all let me know that. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this light blue, and the idea here is I'm not trying to make this totally straight. I'm not trying to make this totally perfect. Of course you want it to be attractive, but it's done by hand. Now we're just going to pretend this part right here is dry, which y'all know it's really not because I just painted it, but that's okay. We're just going to pretend. I'll come back and doctor that up later. And then I just kind of come back the opposite direction, and I've got this light blue. I'm going to go back this way. Now to me, y'all, this is easier than trying to paint that rose and then, coming back around it. So I'm going to pick this. I'm going to wash out my brush a little bit. She said, Pam says, I would like to start cutting my own, but I would love paper. Okay, I got you, Pam. Yeah, we cut our own. Obviously, we used a jigsaw for years and years and years, and it'll save you a lot of money, especially those of you that are out of town and not having to, if you want to cut your own blank. Now, some people, they just don't want to mess with that, and I get it, because it is work. And I'm just coming with this shading blue, and I'm sometimes I'm going over the very top of the light blue. Sometimes I'm going beside the light blue. I'm not trying to be real perfect with it either way. But I just want some light blue and I want some shading blue on there. That's my goal. If they're right on top of each other, that's okay. If they're kind of close, that's okay. I'm not going to worry about it one way or the other. And now I've got that, and it won't take long for that to dry. And then of course, then I'll come in and I'll put the pink and I'll put the petals, the green petals. All right, so Pam says, I got a jigsaw for my birthday, but I haven't tried it yet. Pam, I think the jigsaw thing, it's like anything else. I don't think it's difficult. I don't know if I've said this. I think I've said this, but who knows? I say so many crazy things, but for years, I taught school, right? And I had a crew come in every summer of young men, and I had a couple of ladies work, a couple of girls work for me. I don't want to be sexist there, y'all. And I had them do a lot of my cutting for me. And so, even if you don't have the gumption to do your own cutting, I paid the guys who worked for me by the piece. And so, it was kind of up to them, because y'all know how kids are. Sometimes they work fast, sometimes they work slow. So I paid them by the piece, and if they worked slow, that was on them. I did that for years, y'all. So if you're thinking you want to cut your own blanks, or you don't really, you don't really have the manpower to do that yourself, I would always encourage you to think about your local high school, because I know as a teacher that the local school has a lot of kids in it who need money. And I had them work for me, for years, every summer. For years I did that. And of course, if you want to cut your own blanks, you can save even more money. And I think as far as the jigsaw, to me, Pam, the thing about the jigsaw, when you're going like with that jigsaw, the way the jigsaw moves in the back, hey, enough. My dog decided to act crazy. The way you move the jigsaw in the back of the jigsaw, right? If you try to move that jigsaw in the front, you're gonna have a hard time. If you'll move the back of that jigsaw, that's how you get it to pivot and turn and all that good kind of stuff. So, but it's kind of one of those that if we do the paper pattern thing, y'all would have to order it, and then I would print it, because we can't carry inventory for every pattern that we have. That would be totally something we couldn't do. We don't have the space or the money to pull that off. So it is something we're thinking about, because we have a lot of folks that, just really want it. The thing about a paper pattern too is you'll have it forever, Of course, you have to cut your own blank, and some people don't want to do that. So it's kind of good, I guess, we have it to be able to go either way. All right, I'm just doing some shading on my apple here, y'all. And this is the shading red that I have. And all shading red is black and red together. So if you don't have any shading red, no worries. Get you some red, get you some black. Start with more red than black, but just kind of start doing it until you get to this color. Because I always hand mix this shading red. I don't get this at the store. This is something we bring the black in, and we bring the red in, and I hand mix it. That's what I always do. So I've got my apples, I think, kind of down here like that. And then I might kind of do something. I'm not going to get too crazy with my brush strokes, okay? I'm going to kind of leave it like that. Now let's see if I can find, don't y'all like it how I talk to myself? Hey Bridget, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. Hey Paula, how are you? Now Paula, I can't remember, are you coming to the wreath party on Saturday? You might not be, but I was thinking you were. Hold on, y'all, I gotta get a small brush. I thought I had a smaller, you would think of all these brushes I have, I would have a really small brush. Okay, I found one. I was thinking you were coming on Saturday, but maybe I'm wrong, Paula. We're doing a wreath party on Saturday. Okay, I'm gonna get some shading green. I've got to do my leaves. Gotta do my leaves, y'all. All right, got my little stir sticks here. I'm gonna do some of these green leaves. Y'all tell me, are y'all painting anything? Are y'all working on a project now? I mean, maybe not this very second, but what are you working on these days? I would think a lot of you would be working on fall, kind of like what I'm doing. Of course, I'm always working on Christmas. I don't think you ever get that done. And but we've been really kind of starting to work on a lot of fall around here. And my art room, I don't know if y'all can tell, I've shown my art room on camera before, but my art room is just a 2-car garage is all it is. So it's not really, as large as you might think I would have. Ashley, she has ginormous space. Me, not so much. And so it's just my, it's just a 2-car garage. That's all it is. So it gets a little bit cramped in here, y'all. That's what I'm trying to say. Halloween totem poles and the kitten, and the bat. Working on fall and Christmas, Nance says. And then I have a Halloween wagon ready to paint. Very good. So y'all are doing a lot of fall then. Kind of like what I was thinking. Yeah, it's that time of year. It's August the 16th. That's really amazing that, I don't know, y'all. So I have my art room is a 2-car garage. So it's not really that large. So I spend time painting, and then it's like I carry it out, and spend time painting and get it out of here. Because because it doesn't take long for this room to get really, really little. Really little. Especially like the other day, I was working on some big Santas. And you put a 6-foot Santa in here, and you know, you do that 5 or 6 or 7 of them in here. It just doesn't take long for the space to go, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up, I don't have that much space. Candace says, my husband would never let me do it in the garage. That's his space. I get the kitchen counter. Now, in my husband's defense, he has his own little man shed out there, or whatever you call it, man cave. And then over at the shop, we have a huge building over there that he has a lot of stuff over there. So, but he tried this in probably 2009. So we haven't had a garage since then. Now we have a carport, but y'all, we didn't get a carport or a patio cover, whatever you want to call it, until 2017, I think. So for all those years, I painted, like if I had to paint outside, I painted outside in the sun. And then my dermatologist got real close with me one day and said, get out of the sun. So then we got like a patio cover, portico, whatever you want to call it. And of course that costs money, of course. So now if I have to go outside, I can get out of the sun if I really, really have to, because we have that. But for years, I just would have to paint out there in the sun. And now looking back, y'all, I'm not sure how I did that. Because now I was like, I don't think I could do that. I mean, I'm out there sometimes for a couple hours, but not all day. All right, so I did a little bit of shading on there. Now, I need a bigger brush. I think this is what I'm gonna do. And I need some more water in here. I'm gonna shade this basket, but I think before I do, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a little bit of light pink, and I'm going to go ahead and put this rose and do that. I love watching you guys, learning so much. Found y'all on Facebook last week and been watching you. Yay, Angela, great. That's awesome, because we like to hear that. That's what we're here for, a community of folks who kind of just, you know, like to hang out and jibber jaw. I do most of the jibber jawing, but I love what y'all what y'all write to me. Candace says, wood is too expensive right now in North Dakota, so nothing going yet. You know, we got MDO, Candace, for years out of Canada. That's where it came from. We didn't buy it from Canada, but that's where it came from. And, you know, they shut Canada down. Now, I hear they're just now opening back up. And so our source that had, you know, that was coming in from Canada totally dried up. So that meant I had to kind of jump ship. Y'all, I've been doing some serious fancy dancy, doing all kind of stuff. Then, you know, trying to get MDO. So I'm in the greater Houston area. We're actually a suburb of Houston. So there's, you know, all sorts of industry here. And so I went to some sign supply companies, which I deal with them too, and just started making phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call. Finally found some, but it's been a trying time, you know, just the way the world is right now with the whole supply chain thing. So I get what you're saying by wood being expensive, and sometimes it's not even a matter of the cost. It's just that you literally cannot get it. I mean, you just can't, because it's like the source that we have that comes out of Canada, they totally can't get me anything. It doesn't matter how much money I have. So I've done a lot of homework trying to find it. So I get what you're saying. Let's see. Do you have an app that does lives? No, Candace, all I do is I just go on Facebook and I push go live. That's it. It's not a special app or anything. It's just, you can do it on your, anybody can do it that's got a Facebook account, and I just go live on that. So there's not really an app. There's just, you hit the go live button, so to speak. And I know I've had a lot of creatives tell me that they're very terrified to go live. Fortunate for me, I've never had that problem. It doesn't bother me to go live. I don't know if that's because I taught school for all those years So I was used to, you know, quote, being in front of a crowd, you know. I don't know. That doesn't bother me. Now, it could be, according to my husband, it could be my personality that I would talk to a fence post. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he says. I kind of wonder about that. So, just push that go live button. That's all I do. I have a Facebook account and I just push go live. But I know a lot of creatives really have a hard time, you know, getting in front of the camera, so to speak. But I think part of it too, for me, it's not hard, but y'all, you got to remember, I've been painting a long time. Plus, it's something I really like to do. So, it's not like I'm going live about a subject matter that I don't know anything about. Like, I don't know, if I had to come do some kind of live on something I didn't know anything about, I'd probably be freaking out. And I'm just kind of making some messy streaks here. I ain't trying to be nothing but a little bit messy here. That's it. That's it. A little bit messy. Not a whole lot. Now, I'm not going to be able to do this little part tonight just because it's so wet, but that's okay. You can kind of surmise where I'm going with that. And I'm going to get the shading blue is what I got right here. Candace says, I'm a teacher too and not afraid to speak in front of people anymore. Hey, Candace, if you're a teacher, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because you don't get a choice, you know, to quote, I don't know, be afraid. You have to get out there and you've got to stand up in front of that class and somewhat kind of know what you're talking about or sound like you know what you're talking about. Yes, they're kids, so it's not adults, but it's still people that you're in front of, you know. So I get it. If you're a teacher, you know exactly what that means. There's no getting out of that, you know. And so I think I've not had any trouble going live. Now, when I say I've not had any trouble, what I mean is it doesn't bother me to go live. I have had trouble with technology, as those of you who know me well know that that is a true statement. True statement. And I was on the phone with tech support, Apple tech support, on Sunday for 2 hours, an hour and 15 minutes on the first call and 45 on the second. And y'all, they did not solve my problem. I hung up, called my sister and her, and I sat there and tried to figure it out. And my sister actually figured it out. I didn't. And so, you know, God bless them though, they tried. But tech support is like, whew, that's just going to be the death of me sometimes, y'all. But as a person who, you know, you have to pay the bills, you have to figure it out, is just the way it is. And so you don't have a choice. So while I'm not the best at technology, that is true, absolutely true. The thing that I have going for me is I'm stubborn. In case y'all didn't know that about me, I'm stubborn. And what that means is I just don't give up. Perhaps there are times I should give up, but I just don't. So, but I've learned a lot in the last couple of years as far as technology goes. So, you know, of course they're going to change it on me, but, you know, right this very second, I've learned some stuff. But you either continue to learn or you'll get left behind. And it's especially true for people like me as we get a little older. You either continue to learn or you'll wake up one day and you won't even know how to use a cell phone, let alone a TV or a computer, you know. So, but I ask for a lot of help if I need it. So y'all, don't be afraid. Ask for help if you need it. If you need it, you need it. And that's what I do. If you need the help, you need the help. That's just the way it is. All right. I'm doing some outlining here with the shading red using my script liner. Just like this. Just kind of, and I'm deliberately making my script lining strokes a little bit bigger because this basket it's not too shabby. It's a little bit bigger. So that's why I'm kind of putting some pressure on the script liner and getting me some longer strokes and fatter strokes. Okay, let me come over here. Do it this way, y'all. Y'all tell me, what do you think about the angle of the camera? Good or bad? I just tried to do something a little different tonight. Have y'all kind of tell? I like to kind of experiment and see. So yay or nay on the camera angle? That way I'll know next time if I should do this again or not. One advantage to the camera being up there, and if y'all could only see my little setup, I have, what do you call it, some clamps. I have this cell phone holder clamped over here midway up on a shelf. It's got a bunch of clamps. And because it's sometimes hard for me to put my phone, it's on a stand, and if I put it right here, then I can't move the yard art very well. It's like I'm always fighting trying to turn around the yard art and not knock over the phone stand. So y'all let me know yay or nay on that. Because ultimately you're the boss. Yeah, y'all the boss. I'm just coming in here on some of the shading that I had on the shading brown. Just doing a few more brush strokes is all I'm doing. Now when I get up here, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to black up here. This was shading red that I used on the basket. So on the basket I did reindeer brown as my base, shading brown as the shading color, and then shading red as my outline color. But I'm gonna go to black up here because I've got a lot of red. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to black up here. Nan says she's liking the angle, and Lindsay says, hi, I like it better when in the camera is closer, but this is good too. So you know what I could do? Maybe next time when I try that, I could, sometimes I go live. I'm gonna show y'all this, just so y'all can see. Y'all ignore all that crap back there. I go live using this one. So if I go live using this one, you're gonna get a good view right here. You're not gonna see me, which, trust me, doesn't hurt my feelings at all. And sometimes I think that's probably a better view, but then some people say, well, we can't see your face. Well, y'all, it's a-okay with me if y'all don't see my face. But I get it, you know. So that's why I was trying this tonight. But let me turn the angle down some more. Go like that. Okay, yeah, because it is kind of high up there. So maybe I think I'm gonna come on live tomorrow. I'll try it up here and we'll see if y'all like that better. All right, I'm gonna put some water in this black, and I'm gonna go over here. I'll turn this around because this has a lot of paint on it. Kind of move that over there like that. And then it's just a matter of me taking this brush, it's just a script liner, and filling in that CNC line between my lace and my apples and leaves. So I'm just taking that and just kind of going up in there and filling up that. Just filling up that CNC line. Like that. Y'all, painting is the very coolest thing ever. Ever. Now, when I was a little kid, which was, I know, a long time ago, I used to love to color. And I think painting is a lot like coloring. It's just about making something really, really pretty. Really, that's all it is. Lindsay says, no worries. Pam says, I like it this way. Yeah, I think one good thing is you kind of get a good view, you know, but I understand what she's saying earlier about trying to get a little bit closer view. And one thing's for sure is you just don't know until you try. I think y'all have heard me say this before. I know I've said it before. You know, who knows if anybody was listening when I said it or if y'all were on the live that I was on. But one thing about me, y'all, I'm not afraid to try. And if it doesn't go well, I will say, you know what? That didn't go too well. Perhaps I should not do that again. But if you don't try, how do you ever know? You know, you just don't know. So I have had some successes, and I have had some, I was gonna say failures, but that's not true. I have had some that did not turn out the way I expected, and so that was a learning experience. That's how you get that. A learning experience. Not a failure, a learning experience. When I was first developing how we do glitter, I tried so many things, y'all, that just ended up in the trash over and over and over until I kind of got my methodology that I have right now. So, you know, the whole glitter thing that we do a lot of people really like that, but that took a long time for me to get there because you need a process that's going to work and work consistently every time you do it, and where the glitter is going to stay on, but also you need it to look good. So it was absolutely a lot of trying time. When you're shading, are you going in the inside of the CNC line or on it? When I shade, Debbie, I actually go inside the CNC line. Then when I outline, I go right on top of that CNC line. So let's pretend the finger is that's my CNC line. I would shade over here on the side of it, and then I would outline right on top of it. That's how I do it. Good question though, Debbie. I always like to color, but got in trouble for not staying inside the lines. Oh, girl, you know it's the truth. You know it's the truth. And I think what it is it depends, you know, on whoever was your teacher at the time. The ideology was they wanted you to do it a certain way. And I'm not for that. I'm not for doing it a certain way. What I like doing, y'all, is I like doing it an unexpected way. And again, if it doesn't turn out, cool. I won't do that again. But I'm gonna try. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give it the old college try. And then if I don't like it, okay, you know, whatever. I won't do that again. So when I first was doing, you know, when I was first doing yard art, and y'all, I've always been passionate about doing it. I've always loved it, and so I've been blessed in that regard. But I've always I wasn't satisfied with just painting. Once I learned that, I taught myself how to stencil. Did a lot of stenciling for years. Once I learned that, taught myself how to put lights and stuff. So now we put lights in a lot, especially a lot of Christmas stuff. Once I learned that, I had taught myself the whole glittering thing, right? How we did the glitter. So, you know, there's always something to do, something to learn, something to change, something to experiment with. Hey, Jane, how are you? Debbie says, thanks. Oh, Debbie, thank you for asking that question because I would have never thought of that. Nance says, I'm in my 70s and I do it my way now. Yes, 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 yes. You know, I am 57. Yes, am I 57? I think I'm 57, y'all. You can tell I'm really worried about my age. I can't hardly remember how old I am. And I can tell you, every year I get older, I get more, I don't know if stubborn is the right word or whatever the word, I don't know what the right word is, but I get more and more and more interested in what I think and what I want and how I want to do it, and less interested in what people think about me. Because to quote, I think it was Dr. Phil that said one time, I've never forgotten it. He said, I think it was him, you would not care what people thought about you if you realized how little that they did. In other words, people are busy living their life. They don't have time to think about us. And that's probably true. We're busy living our life. We don't have time to think about everybody else. I don't know about y'all. I'm so busy trying to keep the bills paid and technology going. Because as you can tell, I have technology issues. Okay, so I've taken this. I painted this sign light yellow. I shaded it, right, in my shading yellow. Once that shading yellow is dry, then I'm coming up here and doing green letters. Now, you could do black letters. There's certainly no right or wrong, so don't feel like you have to do green. But whatever you do, I would say, whether you're doing this pattern or anything with lettering, I would always paint the background of your lettering. I would always do any shading that you wanted to do to that background. And then I would paint the letters last, as in that's the very top part layer. That's the very top layer. Because of all the things on your sign that you want most prominent, it's going to be your letters that you want most prominent. You don't want your letters to be covered with shading or anything like that. So I paint the base coat. I shade it if I'm going to shade it, which in my case, y'all know I shade everything. And then I script liner the letters on. This is the script liner that I have right here in my fingers, in my hand, I mean. And I just have some green paint. That's all I have. All right, so I'm gonna come up here. And notice I didn't do the black right here. On this little tip, I didn't paint this black. Why? Because my hand is right here. So I'll come back and paint that black last. I'm ready for fall, but I don't think it's gonna be here anytime soon. Well, it's gonna be soon, but y'all, I'm ready for the cooler weather. Ready for some cooler weather. I think anybody who lives in South Texas probably feels that way. Okay, y'all, I'm almost done with this. Trying to just kind of get it really, you don't have to make this perfect, but you just kind of have to make it attractive. It's not going to be perfect because it's done by hand. And notice I keep dipping that brush in there because I keep putting a lot of paint on there. All right, I'm almost done, y'all. I'm gonna wash this out. I'm gonna get some black paint. I'm gonna do this right here. Now, I'm not gonna do the little rose over here because it is absolutely too wet, but I am gonna put some highlights on this piece so you're gonna see it come to life with some white highlights right quick here in just a second. So I got some black on my little sign, on my little pole for my sign. Of course, I can't put any white on that because that black is so wet right now. But y'all know I always have to put white on stuff. That's just what I do because I like highlights. All right, what did I do with the white paint, y'all? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Random question. Okay, love questions, Lindsay. When did you decide that you wanted to open a store to sell your signs instead of just selling from, let's see, your home? I want to open a store, but my husband keeps trying to talk me out of it because of all the extra costs and bills that I would have to put up with the shop. Well, I'll tell you, Lindsay, I'm going to try to make a long story real short for you. So I started painting when I was in my 20s. Just as a young mom, I couldn't afford, you know, a lot of the things that I liked. And so my husband was always real crafty. And he was always very encouraging, and he's like, don't worry about it, you know, because we didn't have the money to, you know, we're a young family. And so he said, what do you want? And I said, well, I'd like candy canes. So, you know, he goes out there with the jigsaw and cuts out some candy canes, and, you know, I paint them and that kind of thing. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I painted for, I just basically painted for pleasure, right? And then, you know, people would approach and say, oh, will you paint me this and that and this and that? So I kind of did that. And then there was the business that I own now, there was a former owner who owned it before me. And it was a very small business. Now, what I've done with it is kind of like on steroids, right? But she had a couple of artists there. She actually had 8 different artists, and they sold stuff there. Now, when I say they sold yard art, they did sell yard art there. That is true. But, and I'm not, you know, I'm trying to be very nice, but they did not sell what I did, meaning shading and glitter and this and that and this and that. It was very, you know, rustic, I'll say. So I came along and I asked them would they sell my stuff, and she said sure. And the way that worked is if the stuff didn't sell, I didn't get paid. She didn't pay me for it until the customer bought it, and then she took her cut, right? So if I painted stuff that didn't sell, that was not on her budget, it was on mine. So it was in my best interest to make sure that I painted stuff that I thought would sell. So we did that, you know, it was an older couple at the time, and we did it that way for a long time. And then, I don't know, in my 30s, my husband had, he had had a bad back and he had to have surgery, and so he wasn't working. And so, of course, you know, there's the issue of trying to put food on the table. You know, I don't know about y'all, but that's always an issue, isn't it? So, at that point, you know, I was teaching school and I had 2 kids to raise. So my son was like maybe 12. And so I put the jigsaw in his hand and I paid him by the piece, you know. And he cut all summer. And then, you know, I painted and all that. And we lived off that money. You know, I was very conservative. And so I said all that to say it's been a progression. So if you want to open a store, my advice to you, I would think, is develop a following. You cannot just open a store and go with what I call hope marketing. You know, you hope people show up. You hope people buy it. You hope things go well. You hope, you know, because that's not a good plan. So I would say concentrate on developing a following. What I did, I didn't know it at the time, but that's what I did, was develop a following. I didn't consciously do that. Y'all, I was trying to pay bills. I was trying to keep, my husband had back surgery in 1996 and again in 1998. And he got some money from his job during that time, but it certainly wasn't what we were used to living on. And so, you know, I was just trying to keep the balls in the air, so to speak. And, but I think you can develop a following. And once you develop a following and you have that consistent following, then you're at the point where maybe you're going to look at, okay, if I'm going to open a business, where is it going to be? Is it going to be full-time, part-time? And I will tell you very, very, very honestly, Lindsay, my business pulls in a lot of money, but I'm going to tell you, it takes a lot of money to run it. So when I don't take that lightly, because, you know, like I have a mortgage and I have, you know, it just goes on and on. Insurance and utilities, taxes. Where I'm at, property taxes are crazy insane. And so, yes, we make money. I'm not trying to plead poverty and say, oh my God, you know, we don't make money, we're starving to death. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think the average person understands how much money it's going to take to have a brick and mortar. So develop that following is very, very, very important. And then once you're in a situation where financially it's okay for you to go without money for a while, because when you first have a business, you're going to go without money for a while. Then, you know, you're ready. In my case, we bought the existing business in 2012. And of course, we bought the property, you know, and everything. And so, you know, had to pay them a lot of money as a down payment, had to sign a mortgage and, you know, have a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Penny. Hey, Karen. And so I even taught school up until 2015. So I didn't stop working a, quote, normal job until 2015. So it took me a long time to get where I'm at as far as my following and all of that kind of stuff. And so in my case, it took a long time for me to get all of that. Now, you know, now we have 2 CNCs. We have, you know, we just have a lot going on. And, but it didn't happen overnight. And I would think, and the main thing too, if you're married, I would think it's very important for you and him to be on that same page, because you don't want to do anything, you know, that he's totally against. That's not the way to live, I don't think. I was blessed in that Bruce and I were like-minded about our business, and so he and I both had normal jobs up until 2015, whatever normal jobs means, real jobs. He worked at UPS, I was a teacher. So he retired in 2015 because he had enough years in. I didn't have enough years to retire. I just left. I couldn't take it anymore. I was working so much. I just couldn't take it. I would sleep maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. Now, some nights I still don't sleep more than that, but at least I have that option if I want to. So anyway, hopefully that kind of answered your question. Develop that following is the main thing. Get that following. That's important. Because, you know, I have a following now but it's taken me years to build it. And so, and I don't take that for granted. I don't say, well, I have a following now, I can just sit around and do nothing. No, when you have a following, you're going to work even harder. So it's just the way it is. So anyway, I'm going to come back later when all this is dry. Ashley will be on, she's doing the haunted train, which I think is 3 pieces. And she will be doing each piece in a separate live. It's either going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that she's on, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Lindsay said, I also work at a school as a sub a few days a week and sell tons of signs on the side. That's good. That's good. So see, you and I kind of have that same thing. I feel like I could do good. Let's see. If my husband helps with the CNC machine and is supportive, it's just getting him to see my vision of the place that I want to open. Yes, I agree. Now, you know, as far as your husband goes and getting him on board, you're absolutely right. You you do have to get him on board. And I think you said y'all have a CNC. So, or maybe you're going to look at getting one. Yeah, that's a game changer as far as your production. That's true. You can definitely produce a lot. But if you don't have a CNC and you're looking at getting a CNC, make sure you have somebody who's going to service the CNC when it breaks down. Okay, so you do. Good. So hopefully, if you already have it, then if something happens to it, because it's only a matter of time, it's a machine. So he cuts everything out. So that's good. Well, then you're doing very well, Lindsay. Develop that following, and maybe you can win him over by really looking at your numbers and really looking at what you're producing and what your costs would be if you, quote, opened a brick and mortar. But I'll be honest with you, if you can pull it off by just doing an online presence, you're going to save a lot more. You're going to have a lot more money in your pocket at the end of the day. But it depends on what you can find in terms of, you know, a brick and mortar location. I have a good location because we're on the main drag in Pearland, right on the main drag. And Pearland is a suburb of Houston, so it's very busy around here. There's a lot of people, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things that go into that. Of course, the property that we're on is not very cheap either. It's expensive to run it. Costs a lot of money. But y'all, I swear, breathing costs a lot of money. I don't care who you are. Like I told Bruce the other day, we're driving out the driveway. I think, y'all, they're going to say, look, Amy, you took 6 breaths. Give me $5. I mean, it's just how you feel sometimes. It's like everything in the world costs money. It's just the way it is. So I think everybody feels that way. Everybody who works for a living, which is everybody I know, probably feels that way anyway. So Ashley will be on either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And if she's not on tomorrow, I probably will come on and maybe do the pumpkins. We're going to try to do a lot of this fall. Lindsay says, thank you so very much for your help. Lindsay, anything that we can do to answer questions, we will. Anything that we can do to offer suggestions, we will. Work on developing that following. You said you sell a ton of signs. That's awesome. And I don't know if you're selling yard art right now, but work on developing that following. Because if you can do that, there's a good profit margin in it if you run it right. But you got to run it right. So, hey, y'all have a good one. Cheryl, thanks for joining me. Jane, I'm glad you were here. Debbie, I know you were here, and everybody else who I can't see. I'll probably come on tomorrow if Ashley doesn't, and I'll do pumpkins in a basket, much like this. And if y'all want the blank, Debbie posted that. If you are thinking about joining the Academy, we will be opening that up, I think, September the 13th. We open it, I think, about 4 times a year. And so we'll be opening that in September. If you're thinking about that, just keep that in mind. And I hope you guys have a good day, or a good evening, I guess. Wait, Candace, I just saw your thing. It says, when I bought my wood, it cost me $17, and now for the same piece is $35, so I'll just wait. I just now saw that post, Candace. It just now popped up. I get it. We're dealing with the same thing. How do I figure my prices? Barbie, that's a good question. There's 3 or 4 things you always want to think about when you're pricing something. First and foremost, what do you have in it? How much money do you have in it? What your materials and your time, right? And then I've heard people say, take your materials and time times 3, or cost times 3, or, you know, whatever. People use all sorts of things. And there's nothing wrong with any of those. But I figure my pricing because I know what the market will bear. So there are things that I make that I don't make as much money on. Then there's other things that I make a good profit on. So it really depends on, do you have enough experience behind you or under your belt, so to speak, that you know what people will pay for certain things. Hey Carol, how are you? Carol is the girl who used to do my hair. I haven't seen her in a while. Y'all can kind of tell Carol. Look at my hair. It's got a lot of gray in it. Anyway, so in my case, there's things that my profit margin isn't that good on some items, but I have to do them because if you come to my store, for example, and there's certain things I don't have, people are going to be upset. So there's some things I have to do just because that's what it takes to sell the whole enchilada, so to speak. And I don't make as much money. But there's other things I'll try to make it up on that. You can look at the cost and your materials and your labor, obviously. Now me, I have a lot of overhead other than that. But now some people will say take your cost and materials times 3, or take your cost of materials and labor times 3. Some people say times 2. It really depends. Then you got to think about, I'm in a pretty good market. There's a lot of jobs where I'm at. See, are you in a small town? Are you in an area that doesn't have a lot of jobs? So, if you live in a small town, your cost of living is a lot cheaper than mine most of the time. That's usually the case. I live in a pretty big town, and I live in a place that costs a lot of money to run. Rather, it's just the way it is. So that's a factor. And I think a lot of my pricing, honestly, is determined by the fact that I've done this year in and year out. And there's certain things I can look at and say, it's not going to move for more than $49, or it's not going to move for more than $89, or whatever the case may be. So think about what the market will bear. Think about your market conditions, where you're at. Think about your labor and your materials costs. And I'm telling you, the hardest thing is pricing. What is figuring out a sale price. So if you're struggling with that, that means you're normal. Even when the previous owners worked there, they ran the place. I was there, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years, because I was there a long time when they ran it. Anyway, I was there maybe by about my 3rd year, and everybody would come to me and say, what should I sell this for? How much, other crafters, because there was 8 or 9 of us at the time. Mary, what price should I put on here? And so I just I think it's hard for people. I think it's a lot of decision making and guessing, and sometimes you're like, what if I'm wrong? But you really have to look at your market conditions and what you think the market will bear. Very honestly, that's very, very important. Of course, you know what your materials and your labor are. So don't feel bad if you're having a hard time pricing your stuff. It's hard. It's hard. It's a hard decision to make, because you don't want to give the farm away, but at the same time, you don't want to rake anybody over the coals. You don't want to be unfair. You don't want people to feel like they're ripped off. I mean, I had a guy, and I know I've told this story before, but I don't think I've told it on here. So I was out at the shop working. It was Christmas time, and a lady came up to me and she said, "Are you married?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, I don't think I can afford your tree. At the time, I think it was $169 lighted tree. It was 5.5 feet tall. And she said, "Do you think I can make it?" And I said, "Yes, you can absolutely make it. What I do is not rocket science, y'all. It's not." I said, "Get you a Forstner bit." She said, "I already have a jigsaw." I said, "Get you some paint. You can do it. It might take a little bit longer than what it takes me, but you definitely can do it." I always encourage people. I've never been the kind of person that's like, "Oh no, you better buy from me." That's not what I'm about. So didn't think anything about it. Next day I'm out there working, and a man comes up and he said, "I need to talk to Mary." Of course, everybody points, "Oh, she's over there." So he comes over and he said, "Are you Mary?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Did you happen to tell my wife yesterday that she could make one of these Christmas trees?" And he was kind of like incredulous. And I said, "Yeah, I did." And I said, "Because she can. It's not that hard. Get your jigsaw, get your Forstner bit. If you want lights, you don't have to have lights. You'll have to have green paint, yellow paint, orange, blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Mary, why would you tell her that?" He said, "Do you know, by the time I go to Home Depot and I buy the material, and if I don't have blades for my jigsaw, I buy that. You know how much a Forstner bit costs. Then I got to buy green paint, yellow paint, orange paint, red paint, white paint, black paint. I buy the stakes. And by the time we do all that, and then my wife paints it," he goes, It is much easier to give you $169. So he went and got a tree, paid me, and off he went. And then we got in the truck, and he said, don't ever tell my wife she can make a tree. So it's not necessarily that what we do is so hard, but it is a lot of materials, and it is a lot of, like on my Christmas tree, there's probably, I don't know, 15 colors of paint. Yeah, something like that. And so I never want to discourage people, but the reality is you got to have a lot of stuff to make this. As y'all know, if you're making yard art and you're buying blanks for me, or you're buying paint or whatever you're doing, you know you got to have a lot of stuff. So Lindsay says, we live in a small town and people don't like to pay for anything. Yes, it is. And that is true. That is true, Lindsay. You're going to run into that. I happen to live in a more populated area, and I think people are just kind of more used to, hey, if you want it, this is what you got to get. It's just the way it is. But so market conditions are very important. And so before you open that brick and mortar, Lindsay, you really think about what is it that you can do in terms of some things you can sell real quick, and I call them bread and butter, and you can get money out of them and move on, and they're popular, and that's great. But not every item is that way. Not every item is going to be a great profit margin. It doesn't work that way. Can you expand online to who will pay higher prices? You definitely can do online. A lot of times I think online is the way to go for several reasons. It's hugely inexpensive to go online. Hugely inexpensive compared to a brick and mortar. So if you can, there are several ladies that are in the academy, and I'm thinking of two of them right off the top of my head, that they have a pretty good Facebook presence. They have their own Facebook page, and they say, and they'll use some of my pictures or whatever, and they'll say, oh, this is what's coming out, and they sell through that. And really, that's cheap. That's awesome. Because like in my case, I have taxes, I have pet cost of the machines, I have, overhead out the wazoo, insurance, and the list goes on and on. And so if you can do online, the overhead is almost nothing. Yes, that's what even if, in Lindsay's case, she brought up maybe opening a store. She alluded to that. But you know what, Lindsay? Even if you do that, you still need an online presence. You still need that in this environment that we're in. I don't think any brick and mortar store can just sit there and go, you know what? I have a brick and mortar. I don't care about online. I don't think you can survive that way. I really do not think you can survive without developing an online presence. And even though we have a brick and mortar, obviously, we work hard at doing an online presence because we know that's how so much advertising gets done. And so a lot of people will drive to our store, obviously, because they know we're there. But a lot of people find us on Facebook and drive to our store. They didn't know we were there. So even if you have a brick and mortar, you need an online presence, just the way it is. Cheryl says, what do you consider a cost for your labor? By the hour or what? The materials I can figure. So, Cheryl, I think what you have to do is you have to decide in your own heart and soul and mind, what is your time? There's two things. What is your time worth, obviously, but also what can you produce in an hour? So me, y'all, I can paint fast. So I can produce a lot in an hour. Now, I'm in a situation I have to charge a lot per hour because I have a lot of bills and I got a lot of people behind me that I got to pay. So let's say I'm just going to throw a number. Your time is worth $15 an hour. Now, if you go and you bring one of these and it takes you, let's say, an hour to paint it, or this is how I always built my business. If the previous owner who used to own the business, she would call me and say, can you bring me 6 Christmas trees? I think I can sell 6. Okay, that's what she would tell me. Now, I'm always one to push the envelope. And remember, if she didn't sell my product, she didn't have to pay me. So there was nothing coming out of her pocket, right? So if she asked for 6 trees, I painted 12. Why? Well, because if she thinks she can sell 6, the possibility of her selling 12, I think it's possible. And honestly, it's not going to take me much longer to produce 12 trees than it is 6. So if you're a member of the Academy, make sure you go in. Ashley and I have some videos, can't remember what they're named or titled, but it's like working in a batch. So it's not going to take me much longer to paint 3 of these than it would take me to paint 1. So when you're figuring your labor, do not, like, let's say if your labor, let's say yours is worth $15 an hour, for example, or 20, whatever it is you want to put on there. Don't figure it as in, you know, one of these takes me an hour. It may take you that hour, I don't know. But try to put 3 in there, because I can promise you, you can paint 3 almost in the same amount of time that you can paint 1. Why? Because you're going to drag out all the supplies to paint 1, and that's the same amount of supplies almost to paint 3. So I always looked at it this way. I didn't look at what it took me to paint 1 of them. I looked at what it takes me to paint 10 of them, and then of course I divided that. So if I could paint 10 of them in an hour, then I didn't have to charge as much, right? You don't, I mean, you can't always paint 10 an hour. It depends on what we're talking about. But try to think about a batch. Don't try to just think about 1. Why? Because you want to sell more than 1. Does that make sense? So all of my sales are through Facebook and through word of mouth. Okay, so that's good, Lindsay. I've been doing it for 7 years. Yes. Okay, so you've got a following if you've been doing it for that long. It's definitely, let's see. Okay, and it's definitely been the best way to reach customers. I posted personalized football yard signs for the different schools, got 10 orders within a day. Yes, I had multiple people message me about other, yes. So Lindsay, you're already there then in terms of your online presence. So you're doing everything right. I think if you could focus, Lindsay, you already have a CNC, just focus on doing stuff in batches. So just like you're saying, a football order, you're gonna do, you said, I think 10. I promise you, you can paint 5 of those suckers almost as fast as you can paint 1. Yes, 10 is going to take you longer than 1. It's going to take you longer. But I always, that's why you see these tables here. Let me show y'all. See those tables out there? That's what I would do. I would always, I don't have them configured tonight because I'm just doing it live with y'all tonight. But I'll have those tables all around here. So if I was doing this, I would probably have 15 of them all around here. And what is this chair doing? This chair is just sliding and sliding and sliding. So I'm doing all the white on this one, go to the next one, doing the white on that one. And by the time I go around the room, almost that's dry and I'm ready to shade. That's what I mean by doing a batch. So, because you're not going to make it in this business if you try to pay yourself $100 an hour. That's not going to work. So you got to find ways to put it together. You know what I mean? You got to find ways to make it work. So think about, instead of just doing 1, do 5. If you think you can sell 5, do 5, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think you're doing everything right then, Lindsay, because you've got your online presence, you're working that, because even if you open a brick and mortar, you still must develop an online presence, because that's how a lot of people are going to find your online, are going to find your brick and mortar is through online. That's just the way it is. So anyway, I got a little long-winded off the subject, but hopefully y'all got some good ideas. And hopefully if you are thinking about joining the Academy, we'll be opening that in September. If you're in the Academy, go in there and yardartacademy.com and look, for those of you that are wanting to do this, you know, to earn money and do a business, look at all the stuff that Ashley and I put out about batching and how to do stuff all as one, because that's how I built my business, period. You did not make any money. That's why a lot of times people will say, can you make me one? And you know, I have to be nice. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'll tell them, no, I can't. And they're like, well, why not? And I said, because it takes me just as much time to drag out all the materials to paint 1 as it does to take me all the time to drag out materials to paint 10. And the way I run my business, y'all, so I bring this, like if I'm working on this is what I'm painting, and I don't do anything else until this is done. And then I move on to the next thing, and I do 10 or 20 or whatever it is that I'm doing. I don't stop for just one. I don't. So that's just me. Debbie says, good live. That's because I've been up here jibber-jawing. But y'all was asking a lot of good questions, so I had to jibber-jaw. Barbie says, thanks for your help. Oh, you're so welcome. That's what we're here for. Hopefully, y'all are going to be making some money this fall, because as you all know, if you're in the crafting business, fall is the business. That's the time. Summer, we kind of starve to death around here. That's just the way it is. But fall and Christmas, that's the time. So y'all have a good one. We'll be back on. I'll be back on tomorrow night if Ashley's not. So if you got more questions, come see me tomorrow night. As you can tell, I like to talk. Y'all have a good one. Bye, everybody.